How you going today? It is so good to see you. As you can see, I've brought the card table down to the beach again because I love it. We are only a few days now from winter, but we're having a beautiful day. It's very mild, it's 18 degrees C, and why not get outside? It means we don't get echo. That's great. And hopefully with my back to the wind, because the wind's coming from the north today, sound will be nice and clear. Now today's episode is something a little bit different. I started my channel about 4 years ago. Didn't really ramp it up until about 1 or 2 years ago, but I did start it about 4 years ago. And back then I made some videos about some of my images. I talked about hows and whys and the technicals and the cameras and all that sort of stuff. Some shot on the Hasselblad, some shot on the D810, the D800, so on and so forth. Now, because these videos are old, and they were when I had like 4 subscribers, nobody's ever seen them. So I thought I would take the opportunity to share with you. If you want to see some of my process and some of what's going on, these are cute little short videos, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, that's it. Not a big commitment. And you get a nice little look at not only what did I look like 3.5 years ago, I think I've aged, but this was a great idea. And what we did is we called it was a series. We made 5 of them, and the series was called Behind the Photograph. We'll just play a little clip from each one, and then we'll leave the links below. Plus, we're going to leave the links up here. So either way, you can either click up here or they'll be down below. But you can go and look at these because people have been asking, what's my thought process? Why do I do things? Why do I choose cameras? What's my motivation? All that sort of stuff. Well, it's all here. I did it 3 or 4 years ago. Now, Behind the Photograph was a great series, and I really would enjoy doing it again sometime. I will do it again. We will pick this series up again now that I've gone from 4 subscribers to basically 10,000. It's more relevant today. The first episode was Behind the Photograph Framed. Framed is an image that I love, photographed on the Sony A7R, and has sold very well. Check it out. I love the juxtaposition between a normal brick wall and then what just simple chalk and clearly random, perhaps secondhand framed things. And then with framing, that was another part of the title, with the framing of the image, because there's other things that didn't fit so well. For the launch of the colouring book, we turned a selection of my images into line art. And for the launch, we wanted to make a bit of a splash. So we decided to represent some of the images on canvas in large format. So not just, this big, but 1 metre. In the case of this one, we printed it almost scale 1:1. And then people were able to go in and graffiti on it as if they were graffitiing on the wall. The next episode, where you can see this little clip here.
Ghost Tram was photographed on Fitzroy Street in St Kilda, and it was the winter of 1994. I was chasing the fog, so this was one of those days where it's like, there's going to be fog tomorrow, better get up early, and I always pretty much just follow my nose. I kind of remember things that I've seen in my travels, and then I'll go back there when I think the light or the conditions are right. And so, I ended up in the middle of the tram tracks, which has ended up being something that I've done a lot since then, because of course this is 22 years ago now.
Is Ghost Tram. Now the reason we chose Ghost Tram from 1994 is it's perhaps one of my most famous and iconic images. I've sold 25,000 greeting cards, 12,000 posters, and endless copies of it in all sorts of different ways. It's one of my most successful images ever. This is just a short little video where I talk about it. The next one, Behind the Photograph, you can click on up here, is called Stacked Trams. This image was taken in 1989. That's how old it is, 31 years ago, and it was taken at an historical moment in Melbourne's history. Again, it's very short. Check it out. Bit of fun.
This was actually before my photography was anything other than a hobby. I hadn't sold a single print, but I loved photography. So I was just, I was just driving around and riding my bike around and taking photographs of this city that I love. I'd been up to Hanging Rock, if memory serves me correctly, that day, and climbed around all over the rock and tried not to get lost. And I'd heard on the radio that there was, and I was 18 at the time, and I'd heard on the radio that there was this strike and that Elizabeth Street was completely full of trams. And
Episode 4 is about movement, talking about movement and motivation and emotion. The image is called Eyes Have Windows. It's a great little piece, again only 2 or 3 minutes long, a short commitment. Check it out again if you want to know more about why I do what I do. That was a lovely day. It was a day that my daughter and I, Chloe, went into the city and had an adventure. It was when we were waiting for the train that I had my Nikon D800 and my 24-70 2.8 zoom and took that photo. I know what happens when I do a slow shutter speed, and I thought it'd be really interesting to experiment with that and getting the background. Obviously you can see the wall behind the train. Yeah, I quite like trains. I mean, with everything that I do, at the end of the day, it's about my taste. So some trains are more attractive than other trains, and if I don't particularly, I mean, there's methods you can use. For instance, if you make it blurry, well, you can't exactly tell which train it is, but somehow we all still know it's a train. So that's storytelling and getting away with, it maybe not being as aesthetically pleasing as you like, but you're really only hinting to it. Kind of, I don't know what the right word is, you're kind of abstracting it. And then the final episode that we created in that series, and you can check this series out if you click here as well. The final one is shot on the Hasselblad, the 60 megapixel Hasselblad. So if you're interested in what a true medium format camera can do, this is a lovely little vignette into that. And again, if this series is well received and you like it and it's making sense, I will make more, because there are literally hundreds of photographs for me to talk about. And this image is called The Rushling. Check it out. This is a long exposure. It's 16 seconds long, so that means the shutter is open, count to 16, close. And what that allows for is that anything that moves can become a bit ghostly. But if there's lights, then they become streaky. And so what you're seeing there is a tram on the move. I'm standing at a tram stop outside of the National Gallery of Victoria looking back towards the city, so you can see the Art Centre spire at the top of the frame as well. I've been doing that sort of stuff since day dot, because back in the 80s, cameras just couldn't shoot in the dark, so everything had to be a long exposure. You had absolutely no choice. So the biggest thing that I try to do with my photography is keep it as true to what I saw. Still more than half of my career is based on film and darkroom. Whilst I was doing the research for this video and looking for these videos, there was another video that popped up for me, again made in this period where I had like 4 subscribers, which was called the Permutations video. Now, after making this video, I realized there was even more permutations, but I think a lot of you would find this video a good laugh. The notion being, if you're standing in one spot and you take into account 360 degrees and you take into account focal lengths and you take into account time of day, etc., I won't reveal it all, how many different images could you actually take? Again, it's a 2 or 3 minute video. Check it out. It's a lot of fun, and it'd be something great for us to talk about in the comments below. Actually, I'd really love to talk about this in a live stream, and I'm very close to getting to a live stream. I'm really excited by the idea of it. And this permutations video it's just straight up logic, but it's a bit of fun for those who love numbers and love data. But it's also quite realistic. The idea being, how creative can you be in one spot? Personally, I think you can be very creative. So, I've got an idea. I'm wanting to calculate how many options
permutations of an image you could take within a city block. So we've got to make some assumptions. For instance, how much space is there? Let's say we broke up the ground into 25 square centimetre lots. So take a step from here to here, makes the shot a little bit different. Then we've got focal lengths, and I've got lenses from 14mm to 400mm. And let's do 10mm steps, so that means there's about 40 permutations there. Shutters, well, there's a lot. Let's say there's just 20. Apertures, let's say 10. There are half stops, we won't worry about those. ISOs, again, let's say 10. And then we've got degrees from each location. And there's, 360 of those.
The one little pointer I wanted to make about this strange location and situation that we're in is we're actually, you will see from camera 3, which is the Z50, shot by the wonderful Mark, that we are shooting this on my 200 to 400 f4 through the range VR2 lens, and I am sitting, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 meters from the camera, and we've got the city 10 kilometers behind me. So it's just a little bit ridiculous that I am conducting an interview with a 400mm lens. The background was getting so out of focus that I decided I needed to bring it back to 300mm. But it's still pretty hilarious that the little Z6 is running this and can keep me in focus and do it all. It's just great. So you'll see more of this lens on the Z6 very, very soon.
My inspiration is just all about the world showing off.
Thank you so much for being here today. It has been so good to see you. Again, we're outside and all of us need to get outside, and if we can, get yourself some sun vitamins. Sun vitamins are very good for you. Get yourself outside. Look, if this is your first time here, I would love to see you again, so please subscribe. Please share, it makes us all smarter, and don't we need this, eh? Please like, helps get the word out there, and please comment below. I would love to hear what you think of this old series, plus how different I looked 3.5 years ago. It is pretty funny. All right, everybody, I'll see you very soon. Check out the background. Let's see if the camera pulls it into focus. Now I'm going to walk back just to show you the Z6 tracking my face with this enormous piece of glass. It's pretty crazy. Tiny little camera. It's just sort of silly. I'm going to keep walking past my desk. Hopefully I'm still in focus. Here we go. Back. I'm now probably 40 meters from the camera, which is up 120 feet away. This is as far as I'm going to go, or I'm going to fall off the edge. All right, see ya.